Kate Middleton woke up before the sun rose on the most important day of her life. The bedroom at Kensington Palace was still dark and quiet. She could hear William breathing softly beside her. Today was not just any day. Today her husband would become King of England, and she would become Queen. She lay in bed for a few minutes thinking about everything that had brought them to this moment. 20 years ago, she was just a regular girl from a middle-class family. Now she was about to wear a crown and rule beside the man she loved. The thought made her heart beat faster. William stirred and opened his eyes. He looked at Kate and smiled that gentle smile she had fallen in love with at university. They did not need to speak. Both of them knew how big this day would be. Both of them felt the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders. Kate got up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see people already gathering in the streets, even though it was still early morning. Some had been camping there all night just to get a good spot to watch the royal carriage pass by. She felt amazed that so many people cared about their special day. The palace staff had already started their work. Kate could hear footsteps in the hallways and quiet voices preparing for the coronation ceremony. Everything had to be perfect. There was no room for mistakes on a day like this. Kate walked to her dressing table and sat down in front of the mirror. Her reflection looked back at her, but she felt like she was looking at a stranger. In a few hours, this woman in the mirror would be Queen of England. The thought seemed impossible and wonderful at the same time. William came up behind her and put his hands on her shoulders. His touch was warm and comforting. Through the mirror, they looked at each other without saying anything. They had been through so much together. All the media attention when they were dating. The pressure from the royal family. The constant watching and judging from the public. But they had made it through everything together. Kate opened the special jewelry box that sat on her dressing table. Inside were the most precious pieces that had once belonged to Princess Diana. William had given her permission to wear them today. She lifted out a pair of sapphire and diamond earrings that sparkled like tiny stars in the morning light. These earrings had a special story. Diana had worn them to many important events. They had been her favorites. Now Kate would wear them to the coronation. It felt like Diana was giving her blessing to this moment. It felt like the late princess was somehow there with them. Kate held the earrings up to the light coming through the window. The blue sapphires were deep and rich like the ocean. The diamonds around them caught every ray of sunlight and threw it back in tiny rainbows. These were not just pieces of jewelry. They were pieces of history. They were pieces of a love story that had been cut too short. William watched his wife hold his mother's earrings. His eyes became misty with emotion. Diana should have been there to see her son become king. She should have been there to help Kate get ready for such an important day. But in a way she was there. Her love and her memory lived on in these beautiful earrings. Kate put the earrings on carefully. They felt heavier than she expected. Not because of their weight, but because of their meaning. When she looked in the mirror again, she saw something different. She saw strength. She saw grace. She saw a woman ready to serve her country and her people. The morning light grew stronger and filled the room with golden warmth. Kate and William stood together looking out at the crowds gathering below. In a few hours they would ride through those streets in the golden state carriage. They would wave to thousands of people who would come to celebrate with them. Kate took a deep breath and felt ready. She was wearing Diana's earrings. She had William by her side. She had the love and support of the British people. Today she would become queen, and she would make everyone proud. Kate stood in front of her mirror wearing Diana's sapphire earrings for the first time. The blue stones seemed to glow with their own light. She touched them gently and remembered the day William first showed her his mother's jewelry collection. It had been 3 years after they started dating, and he had been so careful about sharing these precious memories. William had taken her to a private room in the palace that she had never seen before. Inside was a large safe filled with boxes and cases. Each one held something that had belonged to his mother. He opened them one by one and told Kate stories about when Diana had worn each piece. The sapphire earrings had been Diana's absolute favorites. She had worn them to state dinners and charity events. She had worn them when she danced with famous people and when she visited sick children in hospitals. The earrings had been with Diana through some of her happiest moments, and some of her saddest ones too. William had picked up the earrings that day and held them in his palm. His hands had been shaking slightly. He told Kate that Diana had been wearing these earrings in one of the last photographs taken of her. The picture showed Diana laughing at something funny that Harry had said. She looked so alive and beautiful and full of joy. Kate had listened to every word William said about his mother. She could see how much he missed Diana, and how much it hurt him that she was not there to meet Kate. William had whispered that Diana would have loved Kate so much. He said Diana would have been excited to have a daughter to talk to and laugh with. Now, as Kate looked at herself wearing those same earrings, she felt Diana's presence in the room. It was as if the late princess was standing right behind her, giving her strength and courage for the day ahead. The sapphires caught the morning light and seemed to wink at Kate like Diana was sharing a secret with her. Kate thought about all the times she had wished she could meet William's mother. There were so many questions she wanted to ask Diana. How did she handle all the pressure of being royal? How did she stay strong when the media was cruel to her? How did she raise her sons to be such good men despite all the difficulties they faced? The earrings felt warm against Kate's neck. She imagined Diana putting them on before important events, just like Kate was doing now. Diana must have looked in mirrors just like this one and wondered if she was ready for whatever came next. Diana must have felt nervous and excited and scared all at the same time. William came and stood behind Kate in the mirror. He put his arms around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. Together they looked at Kate wearing his mother's jewelry. The moment felt sacred and special. It felt like Diana was giving them her blessing for their marriage and their future as king and queen. Kate had always known that marrying William meant she would live in Diana's shadow in some ways. People would always compare them and remember Diana's beauty and kindness, but wearing the earrings made Kate feel different. She did not feel like she was competing with Diana's memory. She felt like she was carrying it forward with love and respect. The sapphires sparkled as Kate turned her head. Each movement made the diamonds around them catch new light and throw tiny rainbows across the room. These earrings had seen history being made. They had been part of Diana's incredible life, and now they would be part of Kate's incredible day. Kate smiled at William in the mirror. She was ready to honor Diana's memory while creating her own. Kate was almost finished getting ready when she remembered something very special. Hidden beneath her coronation dress was a small silver locket that nobody would see. This locket held the biggest secret of the day, and it made Kate's heart feel full of love and sadness at the same time. She had found the locket just 3 weeks ago while cleaning William's private study. It had been tucked away in the back of an old drawer behind some papers and photographs. The locket was old and tarnished, but still beautiful. When Kate opened it, she gasped at what she found inside. There were 2 tiny photographs in the locket. One picture showed William and Harry when they were little boys. They were maybe 6 and 4 years old. Both boys were laughing and had their arms around each other. They looked so happy and innocent. The other picture was of Diana herself. She was smiling that bright smile that had made the whole world love her. Kate had taken the locket to William right away. She asked him where it had come from and why it was hidden in his desk. William had looked at the locket for a long time without saying anything. His eyes had filled with tears as he remembered. William told Kate that Diana had given him the locket just a few months before she died. Diana had said it was for William to give to the woman he would marry someday. She wanted his future wife to know that Diana would always love both William and the woman who chose to love him too. Diana had told William to keep the locket safe until he found his true love. She said that when he was ready to get married, he should give it to his bride. The locket would be a sign that Diana welcomed the new woman into their family with open arms and an open heart. William had kept the locket hidden for over 20 years. Even after he and Kate got married, he had not given it to her. He said he had been waiting for the perfect moment. He thought maybe that moment would be their wedding day or when their first child was born, but somehow it never felt right. When Kate found the locket, William knew that Diana had meant for her to find it now. On Coronation Day, on the day Kate would become queen. This was the perfect moment Diana had been waiting for. This was when Kate would need to feel Diana's love and support the most. Kate had cried when William put the locket around her neck. The chain was long enough that the locket would rest close to her heart, but hidden under her dress. Nobody else would know it was there, but Kate would feel it all day long. She would feel Diana's presence with every breath she took. The locket felt warm against Kate's skin as she finished getting ready. She kept touching it through her dress to make sure it was still there. Knowing that Diana had planned this moment made Kate feel less nervous about becoming queen. It made her feel like she was not alone in this huge responsibility. William was getting dressed in another room, but Kate knew he was thinking about the locket too. His mother had thought of everything. Even from beyond death, Diana was still taking care of her family. She was still making sure that love would guide them through the difficult times ahead. Kate looked at herself one more time in the mirror. Diana's sapphire earrings sparkled in her ears. Diana's secret locket rested against her heart. She was ready to face the world as the new Queen of England, with Diana's love protecting her every step of the way. The golden carriage waited outside Kensington Palace like something from a fairy tale. Kate had seen it many times before, but today it looked different. Today it would carry her to Westminster Abbey, where she would become queen. The morning sun made the gold shine so bright it almost hurt to look at. William helped Kate climb into the carriage. Her dress was so long and beautiful that it took up most of the space. The sapphire earrings swayed gently as she settled into her seat. She could feel Diana's locket pressing against her heart under all the layers of silk and lace. As soon as the carriage started moving, Kate could hear the crowds. Even through the thick walls and windows, the sound was incredible. Thousands and thousands of people were cheering and calling their names. Some people had been waiting since before sunrise just to see them pass by for a few seconds. Kate looked out the window and saw more people than she had ever seen in one place. They filled every street and every building. Some were waving British flags. Others held up signs with pictures of Kate and William. Many people had tears in their eyes because they were so happy and excited. The carriage moved slowly through the streets of London. Kate waved at the crowds and tried to smile at as many people as possible. She wanted everyone to feel special and included in this amazing day. But inside her heart was beating so fast, she thought everyone might be able to hear it. William sat beside her looking calm and strong. He had been preparing his whole life for this moment. But Kate knew he was nervous too. She could see it in the way he kept straightening his ceremonial uniform and checking that his sword was properly attached to his belt. Halfway to the Abbey, Kate saw something that made her catch her breath. In the crowd was an elderly woman holding up a large photograph of Princess Diana. The woman was crying and pointing at Kate's earrings. Somehow she had recognized them even from far away. She knew they had belonged to Diana. More people in the crowd were holding pictures of Diana too. Signs that said, "We remember Diana," and "She would be proud," were everywhere. Kate realized that this day was not just about her and William becoming king and queen. It was also about remembering and honoring Diana's memory. The weight of that responsibility felt heavy on Kate's shoulders. All these people loved Diana so much. They missed her and wished she could be there to see her son crowned king. Kate touched her locket through her dress and made a silent promise to Diana that she would try to be worthy of all this love and trust. The Abbey was getting closer now. Kate could see the ancient towers rising up against the sky. Inside those walls, English kings and queens had been crowned for almost 1,000 years. Soon she would join that long line of royalty stretching back through centuries of history. Kate took William's hand and squeezed it tight. He smiled at her, and she saw all the love and support she needed in his eyes. They had come so far together. From university students to husband and wife to king and queen. No matter what happened next, they would face it together. The carriage slowed down as they approached Westminster Abbey. Kate could see the red carpet that would lead them to their destiny. In just a few minutes, she would walk down that aisle. and everything would change forever. Kate stepped out of the golden carriage and felt the cool morning air on her face. Westminster Abbey stood before her like a giant stone guardian that had watched over England for hundreds of years. The ancient building seemed to hum with the spirits of all the kings and queens who had been crowned within its walls. The red carpet stretched from the carriage to the Abbey doors. Each step Kate took felt like she was walking through time itself. Her dress flowed behind her like a river of silk. Diana's earrings caught the light from the stained glass windows and threw tiny blue sparkles across the stone walls. Inside the Abbey, Kate could hardly believe what she saw. Every seat was filled with the most important people in the world. Presidents and prime ministers sat next to movie stars and religious leaders. Everyone had come to witness this historic moment. The air felt thick with excitement and reverence. As Kate walked down the long aisle, she felt like she was in a dream. The organ music was so beautiful and powerful that it seemed to lift her feet off the ground. Hundreds of people turned to watch her pass. Some smiled and nodded. Others dabbed at their eyes with handkerchiefs because they were moved by the beauty of the moment. Kate's family sat in the front rows looking so proud they might burst. Her mother Carol was crying happy tears. Her father Michael kept wiping his eyes with his sleeve. They still could not quite believe that their little girl was about to become Queen of England. Halfway down the aisle, Kate saw Prince Harry sitting with his family. Their eyes met for just a moment, and Harry gave her the smallest nod. In that tiny gesture, Kate felt years of complicated family history being swept away. Today was about love and unity. Today was about moving forward together. The Archbishop of Canterbury waited at the altar wearing his most magnificent robes. In his hands was the crown that would soon rest on William's head. But Kate's eyes were drawn to the smaller crown waiting for her. It had been specially made for this day, with some of Diana's favorite sapphires worked into the design. As Kate reached the altar, she felt Diana's locket pulse against her chest like a second heartbeat. The late princess felt so close that Kate almost turned around to look for her. Instead, she closed her eyes for a moment and whispered a tiny prayer of thanks to the woman who had made this day possible. William stood waiting for her at the altar. When she reached his side, he took her hand and squeezed it gently. They looked at each other, and in that moment the thousands of people watching seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them promising to love and serve each other and their country for the rest of their lives. The ceremony began with words that had been spoken in this same place for centuries. Kate listened to each phrase, knowing that she was becoming part of something much bigger than herself. She was joining a tradition that connected her to every queen who had come before and every queen who would come after. When it came time for Kate to kneel and receive her crown, she felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. This was her moment. This was her destiny. Diana's earrings swayed as she bowed her head, and she could almost hear Diana's voice whispering words of encouragement and love. The crown settled on Kate's head, and suddenly she was no longer Kate Middleton. She was Queen Catherine, ready to serve her people with all her heart. The moment the crown touched Kate's head, something magical happened. A single beam of sunlight broke through the gray London clouds and streamed through the Abbey's beautiful rose window. The light hit Diana's sapphire earrings and made them glow like two blue stars against Kate's neck. Everyone in the Abbey gasped softly. The light was so bright and pure that it seemed like a sign from heaven itself. Kate felt the warmth of the sunbeam on her face and knew in her heart that this was Diana's way of saying she approved. The late princess was giving her blessing to the woman who would now stand beside her son. William's eyes filled with tears as he watched the light dance across his wife's face. He had never seen anything so beautiful or meaningful in his entire life. For just a moment he could almost see his mother standing there smiling at them both. The feeling was so strong that he had to blink several times to make sure he was not dreaming. The Archbishop continued with the ancient ceremony, but Kate barely heard the words. She was lost in the incredible feeling of being connected to something divine and eternal. The sunlight seemed to pour strength and courage into her body. She felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead as queen. The congregation watched in wonder as the light continued to shine on Kate throughout the rest of the ceremony. Some people whispered that it was a miracle. Others said it was just lucky timing. But everyone agreed that they had witnessed something very special and rare. Kate's mother Carol saw the light too and pressed her hand to her heart. She knew that William's mother was somehow present in that beautiful moment. Diana was welcoming Kate into the royal family in the most perfect way possible. Even death could not stop a mother's love from reaching across the years. As the ceremony continued, Kate felt different than she had ever felt before. The crown on her head felt light instead of heavy. The responsibility of being queen felt like a gift instead of a burden. She looked at William, sitting beside her on his throne, and saw the same peace and joy in his face. When it came time for them to take their final vows as king and queen, the sunlight grew even brighter. It filled the entire abbey with a golden glow that made everyone feel like they were part of something sacred and holy. Kate spoke her promises in a clear, strong voice that carried to every corner of the ancient building. The moment the ceremony ended, the sunlight faded as suddenly as it had appeared. The clouds closed back over London, but the memory of that miraculous light would stay with everyone who saw it for the rest of their lives. Kate touched her earrings gently and felt Diana's love still glowing warm against her skin. As they prepared to leave the abbey, Kate caught sight of herself in one of the mirrors that lined the walls. She looked like a completely different person than the nervous woman who had entered just hours before. She looked like a queen. She looked like someone who belonged on the throne of England. William offered her his arm, and together they walked back down the aisle as king and queen. The organ played triumphant music that seemed to celebrate not just their coronation, but the love that had brought them to this moment. The love between Kate and William. The love Diana had given them both. The love of the British people who had welcomed Kate into their hearts. Outside the abbey, the crowds were waiting to celebrate with their new monarchs. But inside Kate's heart, the real celebration was just beginning. She was queen now, and she would spend the rest of her life trying to be worthy of the trust that had been placed in her by the people and by Diana's memory. After the ceremony, Kate and William rode back to Buckingham Palace in the same golden carriage. But everything felt different now. They were no longer just husband and wife. They were king and queen of England. The crowds lining the streets seemed even bigger and louder than before. Everyone wanted to celebrate with their new monarchs. At the palace, Kate could hear the roar of the crowd gathered outside. Hundreds of thousands of people had come from all over the world to be part of this historic day. They were all waiting for the traditional balcony appearance that would make the coronation complete. Kate looked at herself in the mirror one last time before stepping outside. The crown felt natural on her head now. Diana's earrings sparkled like they were celebrating too. The secret locket pressed warm against her heart, reminding her that she carried Diana's love with her everywhere she went. William took her hand as they walked toward the famous balcony doors. Through the windows, Kate could see the massive crowd stretching as far as the eye could see. The mall was completely packed with people waving flags and cheering. It was the biggest crowd she had ever seen in her life. The moment they stepped onto the balcony, the noise was incredible. Thousands of people screamed and cheered and called their names. Kate waved at the crowd and felt overwhelmed by all the love and excitement directed at them. These people had come to show their support for their new king and queen. Standing on the balcony, Kate felt like she was on top of the world. She could see her parents in the crowd below looking up at her with such pride and amazement. Carol was still crying happy tears. Michael was taking pictures with his phone like any proud father would do. The afternoon sun caught Diana's earrings and sent sparkles of blue light dancing across the palace walls. People in the crowd pointed and cheered when they saw the earrings flash. Many of them recognized the jewelry and knew they were seeing a piece of Diana's legacy living on in the new queen. William wrapped his arm around Kate's waist and pulled her close. The crowd cheered even louder when they saw this sweet gesture between husband and wife. It reminded everyone that underneath all the ceremony and crowns, they were still just two people who loved each other very much. A little girl in the crowd caught Kate's attention. She was sitting on her father's shoulders, holding a sign that said, "Welcome, Queen Kate." The child was maybe 6 years old with blonde curls and a bright smile. She reminded Kate of herself at that age, dreaming of fairy tales and happy endings. Kate waved directly at the little girl and blew her a kiss. The child's face lit up with pure joy, and she waved back so hard she almost fell off her father's shoulders. In that moment, Kate understood what being queen really meant. It was about bringing happiness and hope to people, especially children who still believed in magic. The crowd began to sing "God Save the King," and the sound of thousands of voices joined together was the most beautiful thing Kate had ever heard. She felt goosebumps rise on her arms as the song echoed off the palace walls and filled the air with pure patriotic joy. As the singing ended, Kate took one last look at the incredible scene before her. All these people had come to celebrate not just her and William, but everything their country represented. History and tradition, hope and dreams, love conquering all obstacles. When they finally went back inside the palace, Kate felt like she was floating on air. The balcony appearance had made everything real. She was truly queen now, and the British people had welcomed her with open arms and full hearts. Later that evening, when all the celebrations had ended, Kate finally had a moment alone. She sat in her private dressing room at Kensington Palace, surrounded by the memories of the most important day of her life. Her crown sat on the dressing table, catching the light from the lamp beside it. Kate carefully removed Diana's sapphire earrings and held them in her palms. They had carried her through the entire day, giving her strength and courage when she needed it most. As she placed them back in their special velvet box, she noticed something she had never seen before. There was a tiny envelope tucked into the corner of the jewelry box. It was yellowed with age and looked like it had been there for many years. Kate's name was written on the front in Diana's distinctive handwriting. Her heart began to race as she realized that this was another gift from beyond the grave. With trembling fingers, Kate opened the small envelope. Inside was a letter written on Diana's personal stationery. The paper was cream-colored with a small crown at the top. The ink was slightly faded, but the words were still clear and easy to read. The letter began, "My dearest Kate," even though Diana had never met her and had died years before Kate and William were even dating. Somehow Diana had known that someday there would be a woman named Kate who would love her son and wear her earrings. Diana had written that she was leaving this letter for whoever William chose to marry. She said that being royal was the hardest job in the world, but also the most rewarding. She warned that there would be difficult days when the pressure felt too heavy to bear. But she promised that love would always be stronger than any challenge. The letter went on to say that Diana had chosen these particular earrings because sapphires represented wisdom and loyalty. She wanted William's wife to have both of those qualities. She said that every time Kate wore the earrings, she should remember that she was never alone in her royal duties. Diana wrote that she had dreamed of having a daughter, and even though she would never meet Kate in person, she already loved her like family. She said that any woman who could make William happy deserved to be treasured and supported. The letter ended with Diana's signature and a small drawing of a heart. Kate pressed the letter to her chest and allowed herself to cry for the first time that day. These were not tears of sadness, but tears of gratitude and overwhelming love. Diana had thought of everything. Even in death, she was still taking care of her family and making sure they felt loved and supported. William found Kate in her dressing room holding the letter. When she showed it to him, his eyes filled with tears too. He said he had never known about the letter. His mother had hidden it so well that even he had not found it in all these years. They sat together on the small sofa reading the letter again and again. Each time they discovered new meaning in Diana's carefully chosen words. She had given them both a gift that was more precious than any crown or jewel. She had given them her eternal love and blessing. Kate folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the envelope. She would keep it with her always, along with the earrings and the locket. These 3 treasures would remind her every day that she was part of something bigger than herself. She was part of Diana's legacy, and Diana's love would guide her through whatever came next. As Kate got ready for bed that night, she felt a peace she had never known before. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and responsibilities as queen, But tonight she was surrounded by love from the past and hope for the future. 3 months after the coronation, Kate stood in front of her mirror getting ready for her first major event as queen. She was going to visit the children's hospital where she would meet young patients and their families. This was exactly the kind of work that Diana had loved most, and Kate wanted to honor that memory. She reached for Diana's sapphire earrings without even thinking about it. They had become her source of strength and confidence. Every time she wore them, she felt Diana's presence guiding her and giving her courage to face whatever lay ahead. The hospital was buzzing with excitement when Kate arrived. The staff had been preparing for weeks to welcome their new queen. Children who were well enough had gathered in the main lobby to greet her. Some were in wheelchairs and others had IV tubes attached to their arms, but all of them were smiling. Kate walked through the hospital, stopping to talk with each child she met. She asked about their favorite games and movies. She listened to their stories about being brave during scary medical procedures. With every conversation, Kate felt more comfortable in her role as queen. One little girl named Emma was only 5 years old, but she was fighting a very serious illness. When Kate knelt down to talk to her, Emma reached up and touched the sapphire earrings with one tiny finger. "They're so pretty," she whispered in a voice that was weak but full of wonder. Kate's heart melted as she looked into Emma's big brown eyes. "They belong to someone very special," Kate said gently. "Someone who loved children just like you." Emma smiled and asked if the special person was an angel now. Kate nodded and said yes, she was the most beautiful angel in heaven. As Kate continued through the hospital, she met more children who were facing difficult battles. Some were getting better and would go home soon. Others were very sick and might not recover. But all of them showed incredible courage and strength that amazed Kate. In the cancer ward, Kate met a teenage boy named James who had been fighting leukemia for 2 years. He was bald from chemotherapy, but his eyes were bright with determination. He told Kate that he wanted to be a doctor someday, so he could help other kids who were sick like him. Kate spent extra time with James talking about his dreams for the future. She promised to follow his progress and maybe visit him again when he was feeling stronger. James said that meeting the Queen was the best thing that had happened to him since he got sick. By the end of her visit, Kate understood what her true purpose as Queen would be. It was not about wearing crowns or living in palaces. It was about using her position to bring comfort and hope to people who needed it most, just like Diana had done. As Kate left the hospital that day, she felt Diana's earrings warm against her neck. She knew that the late princess was proud of how Kate had spent her afternoon. This was exactly what Diana would have wanted her to do with the power and privilege of being queen. Driving back to the palace, Kate thought about all the children she had met. Their faces would stay with her forever. Their courage would inspire her to be a better queen and a better person. She made a promise to herself that she would never forget what really mattered. That night, Kate carefully placed Diana's earrings back in their special box. But she knew she would be wearing them again soon. There were more hospitals to visit and more children to meet. There were countless ways she could use her role as queen to make the world a little bit brighter. Diana's legacy lived on, not in sadness, but in service. Not in mourning, but in the joy of helping others. Kate had found her calling, and she would spend the rest of her reign trying to be worthy of the trust that had been placed in her by the people and by Diana's eternal love.